qualifying Saturday at the Qantas Australian Formula One Grand Prix. Today on Wide World of Sports, we take you live to Albert Park in Melbourne as the stars of Formula One shoot it out for final grid positions. The pre-season testing is over. Now it's show and tell time as the world's best light the fuse for one desperate hour of pure speed and excitement. At stake, the honour of claiming that #1 grid position for the first round of a brand new season. Plus, those mighty V8 Super Tours will rock Melbourne to its foundations as they muscle for every metre of the Albert Park circuit. Tearing up the track, those 2-litre Tourers are ready to take their rivalry beyond the red line. And the Golden Girls of Aussie Sport will deliver a new slant on Amateur Hour as they battle for pole position for tomorrow's Holden Celebrity Challenge. There's horsepower of the four-legged variety when the thoroughbreds race in the Newmarket at Flemington and in Sydney. So climb aboard live as the bravest and fastest chase the glory on qualifying day at the Qantas Australian Formula One Grand Prix. Right here on the one and only Wide World of Sports.
And welcome to Albert Park, Melbourne on qualifying Saturday for the Qantas Australian Formula One Grand Prix. You can see the city backdrop there and this wonderful track facility and, of course, the Albert Park Lake. It's an absolute picture today. Monaco might have the glamour and tradition, but Melbourne can rightfully lay claim to the world's best street circuit. And sharing the drive with me here in our on-track studio is the 1980 World Drivers' Champion, Alan Jones. We've got terrific conditions here today, haven't we?
The best, Ken. It really is fantastic. It's the wind's died down a little bit, the track temperature's perfect, the ambient temperature's perfect, the driver comfort is good. It's going to be great. In
stark contrast to what we had yesterday, where we had one side of the track dry, the other side of the track was wet. I mean, it was very difficult for all the drivers.
Well, it was probably the worst scenario they could have hoped for, because they've come here with new car driver combinations, new regulations on the cars. They really needed dry time to get some data on those cars, and of course that's not what they got, so they're all behind the 8 ball a little bit. Well,
let's go back to yesterday and check out a couple of the performances that caught our eye. Of course, the McLaren seem to be going really well at this particular point in time, don't they?
Yeah, they've been very, very quick in off-season testing. They've come here, they're out of the box, and they're setting the pace. I've said Hakkinen was my pick for the race on Sunday, and I think hopefully now he's confirming that.
Well, this is Coulthard yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, they're just coming out of the garage and they're stamping their authority on, I mean, it doesn't matter who goes out and does what time. They just seem to be able to roll out and just match it and better it. And they're doing it comfortably.
You made a point yesterday that you felt this bloke's a really good racing car driver. Hakkinen is the one who's really on the speed, on the money.
Yeah, I think that Hakkinen's got the raw speed. Coulthard's probably got a better racing head on his shoulders.
Beautifully presented car, as they were last year.
They're fabulous. And even their garage, if you go down into the pit area and have a look into the garage, the whole garage is done out in that silver and black. It looks very space-agey.
And we've got a change in the guard. We're seeing a lot of new drivers here this year. But let's take a look at Hakkinen. He's really come back so very well after that terrifying accident a couple of years ago.
Well, he's riding the crest of a wave at the moment. He's got a GP under his belt now. For so many years he was leading and looking like he was going to win one and been let down by mechanical failures. He has now won a Grand Prix. That's out of the way. He knows that he can win more. He's come back from that shocking accident in Adelaide. Physically, he's looking better than I've ever seen him before. He's very, very confident, and I think he's going to be hard to beat.
And the man who is the benchmark in Formula One, no matter what happens, whether he wins a World Drivers' Championship or not, is, of course, Michael Schumacher.
That's exactly right. I mean, at the end of the day, he went back to the hotel quickest. He's the one that's on the front of all the newspapers this morning, and that's what it's all about. He really is the best driver. I mean, John Watson was asked to find the 10 best drivers in the world at the moment in regards Formula One. And he said, well, the top 6 are Schumacher.
Look at the cars. They look like darts this year. This new, the thinner chassis and, of course, the groove tyres. all these new innovations. It's going into uncharted territory, aren't we?
Yeah, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. The cars are physically moving around the circuit a lot more. You can see the drivers fighting a lot more. These are Formula One drivers. They get paid millions of dollars to do this. And to see the top drivers really working at their craft is fabulous. And these new regulations are making the cars move around a lot more, so visibly we're seeing them work a lot harder.
OK, well, weather is all important when we're in Melbourne. We had one of those ordinary days yesterday, but today, as far as the drivers are concerned, they've got to be very happy with what they're confronted with. There's the forecast: fine, partly cloudy, moderate to fresh southerly winds, maximum temperature 21 degrees, so it won't be a lot of heat sitting in the cockpit today.
No, that's just about as good as it gets. A dry track, 21 degrees, very low wind. That's just about perfect for them.
And about the track temperature, let's check that out.
Well, the track temperature is 31 degrees, the air temperature is 17, as you said before, so southwesterly 3.3, and the humidity is 56 degrees.
What about the wind? I mean, we've got a lot of gusting winds here today. Does that make have any effect on the cars at all?
It's not so bad here, in as far as that there's a lot of protection vis-a-vis trees, pit buildings and so forth and so on. There are a couple of sections where you might have that protection and then run out from the side of it, not have any at all, and get a little gust of wind, but certainly nothing to worry about. Nowhere near as much as some circuits, like, say, in the south of France, where they call the back straight the Mistral Straight.
That makes your hair go grey.
Absolutely.
The Formula One machines were out on the circuit this morning, grabbing valuable track time before this afternoon's final qualifying. Anne-Marie Sparkman has the highlights of today's first practice session.
A cool morning and a dry track at Albert Park gave the drivers plenty of licence to push the envelope.
This is really a quick lap here, John Watson. You can tell he's using every bit of the circuit, as AJ said, but just the car moving around. They really do start to slide now, dance around under brakes. They're fantastic to watch.
Well, Villeneuve trying very hard, using more than the racetrack, but really what he's doing is just getting back into the rhythm, getting the senses and the feel of the car back again. And he goes across the line, 1:34.3.
Michael Schumacher, the fastest man here yesterday, but this morning the dancing horse was prancing off the track.
Oh, there you go. So he always tries that, doesn't he, Michael?
Yeah, that was a lock-up on the inside, in the left front wheel. He couldn't check the speed. He had little choice. He went straight on. That was the smart thing to do.
As for those fears that the new regulations will slow down the F1 times too much, well, the dominant McLaren machine showed that is not a concern.
Time clicking down now for David Coulthard. You can see Hackney's teammate. There's the time of 1:31.931 that absolutely stunned everybody up here. But he hauls it off into the pit area. Was on a hot lap, got balked, might have thought now's the time to go in.
Mika Hakkinen has done his work. David Coulthard will be on a different programme this morning. He may well be doing the full tank running for the team. Mika Hakkinen is doing the, let's say, the low tank running, going for a time. And of course McLaren will not want to show their hand too early. They will not want to alert the competition too early, but they've gone and done it.
Other teams had plenty of problems.
Well, fellas, there's the Prost car that Charles Stewart was talking about, and those side wings are missing. So an interesting experiment.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Maybe the side wings were upsetting the airflow onto the rear wing, and perhaps one of the, well, it doesn't matter now because there's not too much wind going back to the rear wing anyway, John.
No, Olivier Panis has pulled off down at turn 6, and that will be very disappointing indeed for the Prost team. They've been suffering a lot of gearbox development problems, and that could easily be another gearbox-related stoppage.
While Benetton's new gun, Alexander Wurz, was on an F1 learning curve.
Alexander Wurz was saying how talented and brave he is. Well, just had a big lose right up into the kitty litter. Would not be happy with that.
There it is, yes, into turn 1, locks up under brake.
Yeah.
You could hear it, you'd hear the sound of the brake lock up. Must have been a rear bias that caused that car to go into a spin. He's trying to recover, but for Alexander, well, that's the end of your session. Now, Alexander was very much a passenger, but he'll have learned that, and he's an intelligent young man. He'll go back to the pits and say, sorry, guys, that was my fault.
Sauber's John Alesi, 8th fastest yesterday, trying desperately to keep his Grand Prix career on track.
Been a great ability, great skill. Sadly, he's a very emotional man, and he allows that emotion to dominate all his other characteristics. Currently, he's 7th quickest, 1:34.9, and we see a fraction of an improvement in time, but no improvement in position. But a man who really has got the potential, he's got all the skills, he just can't quite work out mentally how to apply them.
while the Scotsman David Coulthard decided it was time to throw out a challenge to his teammate Mika Häkkinen.
But Coulthard really throwing the McLaren round as the time ticks away.
David Coulthard right on the limit as only turn 13, coming up to the completion of the lap. Very easy in these final corners, Alan, to throw it all away, but David Coulthard is in control.
This is looking good, John. This is going to be very close, if not better.
The Scotsman now in the other McLaren. Häkkinen also the fastest, 1:32.264 for David Coulthard.
Well, it's that last segment seems to be the most difficult. You can get the time in stage one, you can probably consolidate in two, but it all just drifts away in those final 4 corners before you come across the line.
But it does make McLaren 1 and 2 at the moment.
And I have to say, Darrell, prior to this race, I was asked to predict the front row of the grid, and I said it would be Häkkinen and Coulthard in no particular order, and I will not be surprised if that's the outcome at the end of 1 hour qualification this afternoon.
Well, I was saying that earlier. They've come here with a reputation. They were the team to beat. I've looked around the pits at them working. There's no fuss in the pits. They've had that appearance that they're ready to do the business since they arrived here.
The reigning world champion limped back to the pits with some serious body damage.
Now look at this. He comes into the pits. This is Villeneuve, and that wing really tipped right over on the rear end of the car.
Now, that is an extremely dangerous situation. Now, whether he's actually had a bit of an off and biffed that against the fence or not, I don't know. It looks like a collapse just to the right of the tail light. That is an extremely dangerous situation.
Villeneuve's practice session finished, but the flying Finn Mika Häkkinen had re-emerged to see if he could better that first hot lap.
Laying rubber as he comes out of turn 15. That cost him a tenth or two, but great to see the spirit of the driver coming through in a pretty serious session. 1:31.493, absolutely unbelievable. We're now in under less than 2 seconds. Pole time for 1997, and we were talking about maybe pole time being maybe 4 seconds, and he isn't finished yet.
But Mika Häkkinen and Alan Jones has said really stamping his authority here at Albert Park. He certainly is. He's just getting quicker and quicker and quicker.
Well, the response, Darrell, I think that we may well see to Mika Häkkinen's superb efforts could come from the FIA, because they are saying if this does not slow the cars down sufficiently, they can and reserve the right to take further steps.
Well, the feeling was that mid-season they'd be getting these times, not going qualifying into the first Grand Prix.
What they've done is already exceed the pole time established for the first Melbourne Grand Prix. That was Jacques Villeneuve. So we're only in Saturday morning. There's a lot more time to go. Qualifying has got to come. And Alan, I mean, to predict a high 32-second time was, I think, being a little bit adventurous. But to be in the mid 1:31s, what is he going to end up with?
All right,
Indeed, a good question.
At the top 12 after that session. Mika Häkkinen coming out on top from his teammate David Coulthard. Harold Frentzen in third, Schumacher fourth, Villeneuve fifth, Jean Alesi in the Sauber in sixth, Johnny Herbert, his teammate, 7th, Fisichella 8th, Damon Hill 9th, Eddie Irvine in the other Ferrari 10th, Alexander Wurz in the Benetton, and Barrichello in 12th in the Stewart.
What do you read from that practice session, Alan?
I read that McLaren are doing it fairly easy. I think that they're just sitting back in their garage, they're looking at other people, what they're doing, and they're walking out, hopping in the car and just bettering them.
And we've got another practice session coming up.
Yeah, that's going to shape up really good, because they're gathering more and more data as we go along. They'll put that into use in the next session. Yeah. And then, of course, after that, really on for young and old.
Well, plenty happening here, AJ. Out on the track, there's always lots of entertainment for the fans, and there's lots to see. They love running down pit lane. That's Eddie Irvine checking out with, I guess, his mechanics, and he's probably wondering why he's not going as well as he is this particular point in time.
Well, he probably is, because last time they were out testing, he wasn't all that far behind his teammate.
OK, this is Wide World of Sports coming to you from Melbourne on qualifying day for the Australian Grand Prix. We will be right back. What a good city. They really love the big events and, of course, all the outdoor cafes and so many things to see and do, particularly at this time of the year with so much happening in Melbourne for the Australian Formula One Grand Prix. Now, today's second practice session offered the teams their last chance to complete final tuning before this afternoon's battle for grid positions. Peter Nugent was there when the cars and drivers returned to the track.
The final chance for teams to get it right before this afternoon's qualifying session, and Michael Schumacher was trying hard.
And as you can see, Schumacher really trying, and see the car then step out from the rear. Boy, oh boy, moving around, locks up a brake, so he's trying hard early.
Coulthard, second quickest in today's first practice session, was making no impression on Häkkinen's time.
Without doubt, one of the most personal people in Grand Prix racing now. Handles himself out of the car very well, looks the part, doesn't he? Always smartly presented, nicely dressed. I mean, he really does have quite a persona.
The ice-cool Finn seemed able to reel off sub-132 laps at will. There were few signs of how hard he was working.
Graphic shot then of really working the wheel, something we haven't seen for a while.
This could be quite a good lap, I think, Joe, because he really is working the car.
It's an improvement by 1/1000th of a second, Alan. He gathered time, in fact, in that third segment. That's not something we've seen very many other people do. So McLaren and Mika Häkkinen are just really rubbing salt into everybody else's wounds.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen, the faster of the Williams drivers, was again on the pace until a slight error.
Oh, he's having a big try there. He's blown that. Forget that lap. I mean, that really is frustrating for a driver when you're putting a good lap together and you blow it on virtually what is the last corner.
Reigning world champion Jacques Villeneuve was struggling and seemingly unable to do even the simple things.
Oh, and he's got it all wrong entering the pit
That was
lane.
the pits.
Well, Jacques, we have seen you do it on the track. Now you're the first person this weekend to plonk it into the grass in the pit lane.
Then the 1997 Australian Grand Prix champion Coulthard put in a blistering lap, just a second off last year's pole position time.
Coulthard, second fastest to teammate Häkkinen now, flashes up that start-finish line over the grid. We'll get a time for you, see if he's improved it. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. So AJ picked that spot on. That was a flyer. He's now the fastest man on the circuit.
Häkkinen, under pressure to maintain his dominance, couldn't match the Scotsman's pace.
Now, Mika Häkkinen's now out there responding to David Coulthard, so he's seen the times, and now this is really the McLaren show at the moment. 1 and 2. Here's Häkkinen now. Look at the car darting and twitching around as he tries to whittle that time back and get back his quickest time. Real battle going on now.
Well, this is a battle between the two Silver Arrows. We saw McLaren lost time in turn 16. The back end just snapped away. That great lap that Häkkinen was about to give us has been lost.
Then the young Italian Giancarlo Fisichella demonstrated the ability that Benetton hired him for.
He's out trying to chase the McLarens. They're 1 and 2. Benetton now making that resurgence back into Formula One that everybody predicted. Young team, his teammate Wirtz, the Austrian. They're very, very fast, very dedicated, and the team right behind them this time round.
Damon Hill's woes continued as he spun once again, his yellow Jordan narrowly avoiding peril.
Well, Damon had an awful year last year. Oh, and in trouble. He got a rear wheel onto the grass under braking as he came down into that very tight right left. That was a driving error from Damon Hill. Let's look at that again and replay, and that's frustration. He was on a lap which he hoped would see improvement, but he's kept it running. And also Damon, for the first time, Darrell, experiencing a clutch that's attached to the steering wheel rather than a foot clutch. So well done, Damon. You kept it running, but disappointment. And just be a little bit more careful in the future on the entry into that corner.
But you have seen the yellow cars going round and off quite a bit in the last 2 days.
Let's watch again. Just, Alan, talk us through this.
Okay, he's moving over to the left. You can see now, oh yeah, he's got that rear left-hand wheel onto the grass. It's lost traction and just a simple driving error.
With time running out, Villeneuve finally got it all together. His Williams less than a second slower than Coulthard's McLaren.
Jacques Villeneuve and Williams back on track now and winding up the wick as he flashes up over that start-finish line again and yet to start another lap. So let's have a look at what Villeneuve can do at the moment. Well, he's gone up into second place. That's how well he's gone as he's gone over the start-finish line. He's now put Häkkinen back to third. So it's now Coulthard is the fastest with a 1:34.56, but Villeneuve with a 1:31.178.
Schumacher matched the mounting tempo, pushing the Ferrari to the third fastest time.
But in fact, Michael Schumacher's just gone third. and he's about 2.5 to 3/10 of a second behind Jacques Villeneuve. So this battle in preparation for qualifying at 1 o'clock this afternoon is warming up.
With the McLarens clearly dominant during the last 2 days, Coulthard and Hakkinen appear in the box seat for this afternoon's qualifying session. Charles Stewart caught up with the Flying Scotsman.
David, happy memories here in Melbourne, and I guess today is helping.
Yeah, no, good memories of Melbourne. I like the track. You know, I don't think that I've got room to jump up and down yet because qualifying's where it counts, and at the moment I think Mika's got a better handle on his car than I have, but it's going to be close, so it'll be a good fight.
Everything looks like very good for McLaren this early in the season. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, I think we've got a better package than last year. I think it's going to be close between ourselves, Williams and Ferrari, and maybe Benetton at times, but I think hopefully we've got a little edge for the year.
Okay, well, here's the combined 12 from those two sessions, and David Coulthard's emerged on top. Villeneuve scraping back into second spot over Michael Schumacher. Mika Hakkinen down in fourth. Fisichella fifth. Frentzen in sixth. Johnny Herbert 7th, Eddie Irvine 8th, Jean Lacey 9th, Damon Hill 10th, Ralph Schumacher in 11th, and Alexander Wurz in the Benetton in 12th position.
Okay, you're watching Wide World of Sports live and exclusive from Albert Park in Melbourne. We'll be back in just a few moments' time.